Hello, everyone. This is criminal profiler Pat Brown, and welcome to Hangout number 42. Hello, everyone who has made it here today. Let me check in to see who's here. Lisa and Lisa are here. Lisa S, Lisa N, and Anna is here, and Molly is here. Welcome to all of you. And if anybody comes here today who is the Patreon level 4 and 5, please do go to level 3. You get to save $5 a month. Hey, why not do that? Because I'm going to change over and only going to have one Patreon level. And oh, Annie, hi Annie, you too. Downgrade to Patreon tier. Sorry, not tier 3, because I'm going to put everything on tier 3 so we can have a bigger community, so everybody gets everything. And so if anybody who comes here later and watches this and says, "Oh, I missed this. I'm not able to come to the live because I'm only tier 1 or tier 2 on Patreon," just add a few more bucks per month and you can come to everything. We're going to have 8 live shows a month. There's going to be 4 live case shows, 3 live hangouts, and 1 live call-in, and some surprise lives when I have the time, because the other part of the time I want to use to develop the criminal profiling school. So I'm trying to streamline things and also give everybody the opportunity so I can give them. Hi, Gretchen, you're here too. Hi. Oh, you can see and hear me. That's good. Thank you, Lisa. I bought this brand new mic. Look at this sucker. Look at this. Isn't it cool? It's a really big thing. Yeah. Can't make it work. So I'm back on the old one. I have a new camera, which I'm still struggling with. So I'm trying to use that one. Martin's here. Yay, Martin. Martin, you haven't downgraded yet to tier 3. Save $5. Go to tier 3. So tier 3, as soon as everybody gets there within a week or so, I'm going to cut off all the other tiers, and that'll just be the only tier. It'll probably be tier 1 then, right? So, but please do that. I'm taking a little bit of a risk here. I know you guys have been great and, being willing to support me at higher levels, but I just want everybody to be on one page and to have more people coming to the hangouts and the lives and, everything. So hopefully it'll work out. If it doesn't, then I'll just jack up all the prices. I know. $5 for everybody. Downgrade. Yeah. Since when does everybody say, anybody come on Patreon and say, hey, now you can get it for half price, but you can. So that's my idea. And I'm hoping that more people will join. So we'll have a little bit bigger community. And in the long run, this will be useful to everyone. Okay. So if you're here and you're wondering, what the heck are you talking about? Go below, click on Patreon, and ignore 4 of the levels. Just join tier 3. That's where everything's going to be. That's where $5 a month, you can join in every one of my lives. And that's how we keep a really nice community and a really great chat room with nice people in it, and not a whole bunch of cuckoos that just roll in just to make trouble. So, so please do that. And anyway, let's get going. Oh, and by the way, in case you don't want to join for some reason, please just do subscribe to the channel, share in any true crime group you have. And if you want to just support the channel on a one-time basis, click the little $sign. The channel needs it, believe you me. Or you can buy one of my books. They're listed too. Okay, so now the most important thing of the day. Don't watch this show. Okay, what show am I talking about? Oh my goodness. It's now free on Prime. You get the first season free, so I had to go watch it. Now let me show you it. This is what it's called on Prime. Oops, sorry. There it is. Oh no, that's not it. Sorry. I'm going to the wrong place here. Hold on. I'm having issues already. Okay, this is the Prime one. It's called The Paris Murders. And so for, I guess 3 weeks, you can watch this show for free. Oh, do I hear Amazon beeping at my front door? Hold on, folks. I'm going to be right back because Amazon is beeping and the dogs are barking. Hold on a second. Sorry, the dogs were eating the Amazon driver. This must be a new guy because he looked out the window of his Amazon truck and said, "I'm not getting out because my daughter lives next door and she has the 2 German shepherds out there." So, he wasn't overly happy about that. So anyway, back to what I was getting to. See how these Hangouts work if you've never been here? Yeah, they're very organic, shall we say. Oh, thank you, Lisa. Lisa says, that's a great color on me. Well, that's the new camera, actually, that actually seems to see the color I'm wearing. So that's kind of cool. So anyway, getting back to this horrible show. This is what it's called, The Paris Murders. And it is included for 3 weeks with Prime if you have Amazon Prime, which I do. So I'm like, I got to see this, right? Because it's about profiling. Here's the real name. Some people call it, somewhere else it's called just profiling. It's like an intuitive profiler. Yeah, she's intuitive, all right. In other words, she doesn't base her stuff on evidence, but a lot of cracker stuff that's going through her head. And a tough cop. A fast-paced series. No, it isn't. It's boring. But okay. Based on real criminal events. What criminal events are they talking about? Really? Okay. But here's the real name of the show. It's called, I'm going to screw this up because I don't speak French, except to say, je suis fatigué ce matin, which means I'm tired this morning. It's the only thing I ever learned. Profilage. Anyway, and here, oh my goodness. So anyway, this over at IMDb, the person did say this about it. Chloe Saint Laurent is a profiler and works with a police team to solve murders in Paris. She's very sweet. She wears very colored clothes and a huge yellow bag. She looks like a little girl who needs a doll, but she's very smart and a very good profiler. No, she is not. Okay, so what does she look like? Let me show you what she looks like. Okay, so she wanders around like this. This is the clothes she's wearing. I know you got a SWAT team here, right? Because there's a dude. This is the show. Okay, this is a show where supposedly some army dude has gone nuts and is killing people, mass murdering them. He just shot down a whole bunch of people walking through a park, including a child, and then he's shot down some people at the hospital. So they're trying to find this guy before he commits his next mass murder. So the SWAT team is there, but she's walking around in high heels in a fashionable little outfit. Seriously, does anybody buy this? It gets worse. Because look at the shoes. She's got little heels and everything, and she even goes down ladders in those heels. Okay, now let me talk about the ladder. So she's on that property, right? You remember see where those guys are? She wanders off by herself because apparently they don't know about a thing called a perimeter. So you're going to this guy's home where you think he's going to kill you, and you're not encircling his entire home, and you're letting this profiler kook, because that's all she is a kook, wander off. And she finds this shed. All right. She finds this shed and she finds a way to get into the shed. There's something like a hidden trapdoor. She pulls that open. No backup. Nobody even knows she's going there. And she goes down these little stairs into the shed. Of course, who does she discover in the shed? Oh, you betcha. It's the massive murderer himself. And so they have a nice discussion. And she, being the intuitive and kindly profiler, talks to him. And he comes out, but he doesn't hurt her. Oh, isn't she lucky? And so she's trying to figure out what could have set this guy off. And then she's appalled at her own stupidity. You see, she says, oh my God, no, it was Capgras syndrome, which I never actually heard of, but Capgras syndrome, why didn't I see it sooner? Probably because it really wouldn't happen that way. Even though they say it's based on live events. So anyway, Capgras syndrome, I had to look it up, is mostly to do with Alzheimer's people, where when your brain starts, going haywire, people that you recognize them, but you don't believe they're really them because your brain is not able to connect their image with their past. So you start saying, you're not really you. You're not really my daughter. You just look like my daughter. You're not really my daughter. I get that with Alzheimer's. But supposedly, this guy he's in the army, he's in, I guess, Afghanistan, and he had his best friend who was shot down in friendly fire. And at that moment, he suddenly thought the guy who shot him was his own guy, was like an alien in the body, and the body had been taken over because his own people wouldn't have accidentally shot his friend. Come on now, everybody knows about friendly fire. So are you actually telling me it couldn't, you lose your mind over that? I don't think so. So anyway, apparently he starts thinking every place he goes running in the park. Suddenly all the people that are in the park are alien people, like taking over bodies. They're all out to get him. And the doctor he sees is out to get him. And then this is what really set him off. You see, let me get it straight. What really set him off? His wife had blonde hair, and she thought, since he was acting kind of depressed when he came home from Afghanistan, that she would perk him up by becoming a not blonde, which is always an interesting twist on what men usually like. But anyway, so she changes her hair color and shortens it. She comes home and he goes, "You're not my wife. You're somebody else." And she's like, "I just changed. I just did my hair." So apparently this is what he's got, this Capgras syndrome. So that's why he's out murdering people. Okay, that's a second one. I should have stopped with the first, but I wanted to give it a little bit of a chance because here's how stupid the first one was. So anyway, the first one is a nightclub singer goes out to take a smoke in the alley and she gets murdered. Okay. And now let me see if I can find her body lying in the alley. Oh, here it is. Okay. See how she's lying in the alley. Somebody has obviously strangled her, right? Okay. I'm now after a really long and boring and dreary show, it turns out to be her own son, with another stupid story beyond belief. But anyway, she goes, "Oh, I know what did it, honey. I know. You got mad at your mommy, and then you put your hands around her neck and you strangled her." Does anybody see what the problem is right now? I'm going to let you jump in here and tell me, what do you think is wrong with her really crappy, ridiculous, stupid analysis written by the idiots who wrote this show? Does anybody have it? While I'm waiting, Martin says that was some good risk profiling by the Amazon driver. Actually, they're kind of stupidly sweet dogs. So the other Amazon drivers like jump out and play with them. But I wouldn't myself. I don't trust any dog. So I wouldn't jump out. But man, some people just don't have any fear of dogs. Anybody got? Okay, so what's wrong with that? Oh, what do you mean? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, wait. Doesn't, okay, hold on there. Everybody's coming in now. Looks like a rope around her neck. Like this, right? Okay. And it says look like not strangling, right? Okay. Doesn't look like manual strangulation, right? Because when you put your hands, you get thumbprints, you get other things. You don't get a whole thick line around the throat. And Lisa says no hand marks on the neck. This is the first show. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. This is your premiere show. Would you like to do a wee bit of maybe a little research before you screw it up? Molly says, looks like makeup. Well, we can blame the other people on the show for that. But so anyway, I saw that first show and as soon as I saw, she said, you strangled her with your hands. I went, what? No, he didn't. So anyway, that's how stupid it was. And then the second show was as stupid. And I can't stand to see her with her little purse anymore and her little dresses and her shoes. And she's sulky and she's got mental problems. And can we have a show with a profiler who is not mentally disturbed? That's what I want to know. Or has had one of their loved ones brutally murdered that they're seeking revenge for the entire 5 seasons. Can we just have a healthy, some might disagree, a healthy profiler, who doesn't, have the problems that we see with, what's her face in Clarice in Silence of the Lambs. Oh, I hear them. Please, if you're being hired by a police department, working for the FBI or whatever, good God, if you have emotional problems like this, you do not belong anywhere near this kind of work at all, because you're crazy, or you have serious emotional problems and you haven't gotten over them, and you don't belong near anything where you're going to allow your emotions to get a hold of everything. So wrong business for you, wrong business. So anyway, I saw that and I was like, about lost my mind. I couldn't believe how bad it was. I mean, you know, we've had so many profiling shows. You think by the time you got to 2022 or whenever this was made, they'd be a little better. Sucked. So my recommendation is for any of you who want to see what profiling works like, and that's where I made my mistake when I put up the wrong picture to begin with. Where did it go? Here we go. Hawaii Five-0, the original. Don't go to anything in the present. They all suck. Hawaii Five-0, the original one. It is really good. I can't believe how good it is. I almost go there just at night before I go to sleep just to be relieved that we have a true police procedural. We have proper profiling being done by the detectives. We have people paying attention to the evidence. And even though they're trying to make it more interesting than probably normal life, I don't have too much problem with it. I'm like, okay, I probably would think this is a little exaggerated. This probably is like more clever than ever, but still, I'm amazed at how many of the shows I go, good work, really good work. It just floors me because I never had watched Hawaii Five-0 in my life. I never saw it till recently. And I'm like, finally, something that isn't crap. For a profiler, I can watch this happily. I'm on season 5. So there you go. And besides, I love Hawaii. So it all fits me very well. All right. So that's my comment on what not to shame. You know, and don't you think, Lisa, because I went to Paris a few years ago and was very pleasantly surprised. I'd been in Paris 40 years ago. And I was just kind of going through and I really didn't have a good time. And I never really wanted to go back because I always heard bad things about Paris. Like they don't like Americans. They won't speak to you, you know. And I went back a few years ago at Halloween time, had a great time. I had a marvelous time. Absolutely lovely. People were super friendly to me. I even sat in cafes just having coffee and guys sitting next to me just start a conversation. I'm like, am I in Paris? It was beautiful. I walked around every place. Eiffel Tower was fantastic. I saw my favorite artist Monet's paintings, went to his home, went to a great Halloween house, like coolest Halloween house ever. Great time. And I'm watching this, and great food, great wine. Watching this film, I'm like, if I watched this film before I went to Paris, I would have probably not gone back, you know, because nothing in it is inspiring. Absolutely. 0, nothing. Gretchen says, Pat, this is a great question. I like this. Pat, have you found that profiling techniques in police investigation vary in different countries? I would say, such a good question. I love it. Yes and no. I would say that profiling in general, mind you, is really not done by profilers. You know, I hate to blow everybody's bubble on that who thinks that's true. But profiling is done by detectives on the job in the first 48. That's where it belongs. And that's one of the things I'm working on to develop an actual profiling program for detectives so that they can increase their ability to profile in the first 48. Because nobody, people don't use profilers. That's all in the movies, you know. And then they bring the FBI in after, 10 years has gone by and they can't solve some crime. And the media is like, just attacking the police department. So they bring the FBI in and they don't solve it either. So profiling, really good profiling, should be deductive profiling. And that's what my little school that I'm going to put online is going to be. I'm going to have different topics and I'm going to point out the most important issues of each one of the topics because we have too much fanciful junk out here, not straight up logic, fanciful junk, like in that stupid French profiling show where people like they're putting their hand to their head all the time going, oh, it's like, no, use basic logic. So a good detective who has good logic skills and has experience understanding what he's seeing will therefore be a good profiler. Now, what happens in different countries is you're dealing with, depending on their training methodologies and so on and so forth, you see a variety of skill levels. One of my favorite shows, it's on Netflix. It's called Police Crimes. I'll have to find it and put it in the link below. it takes place in India, and it's amazing because they're following a bunch of different murders, and this is a nonfiction show, and they're showing how they're thinking this thing through and finding these people, and it's a really brilliant show, and I'm really impressed with the detectives. But they make a heavy use of CCTV, which my daughter informed me. When I say CCTV, she cringed, and I'm like, what? Well, apparently I spent too much time with British folk and with Indian people when I'm in India, and everybody there seems to call it CCTV. But in the US, apparently it's just called video surveillance. And she says, "Ma, say video surveillance, because nobody will know what you're talking about in the US." Okay. So who here? Okay, I want to find out. Video surveillance, CCTV. What do you go with? So I mean, I'm curious what you're going to say about that. Hi, Heidi. Heidi's here too. So yeah, I love that show, and I'm going to put that below. I was real impressed by it. I'm hoping they'll do Annie, but Annie, you're in Ohio. You're supposed to say video surveillance, according to my daughter, who never watches my show, so I can say things. But that's interesting that you say that, CCTV. She said that went out a long time ago in the US. And I'm like, but I watch, I'm always doing stuff with India and the UK, and I'm always hearing CCTV. So I said that, and she just jumped all over me. I'm like, And he says, tell Jennifer she's wrong. Annie, you know my daughter. Should I actually do that? She's a tough girl, you know what I mean? She's not a detective for nothing. Oh my goodness. Anyway, so that I thought was just this show was just really fascinating. So anyway, now I want to go to a second story, and you can still tell me about what? Oh my goodness. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, Lisa and CCTV, you're in New Zealand, right? So you should say that. Gretchen, CCTV. Gretchen, where are you hailing from? Are you in the US or elsewhere? Because and he says, no. Exactly. Oh, what? Yay, Jennifer. Wait a minute. You're what? Okay, I'm in the UK. Okay, Gretchen, CCTV, right? Yeah, okay. I'm so used to CCTV. I have a real after wait a minute. Oh, wait. I like the idea of CCTV. Video surveillance is Big Brother. Okay, you can believe whatever you want to believe. Basically, I won't point this out that CCTV / video surveillance is actually amazing. And here was my daughter's point, which I just don't know how. I have to really analyze this because you're in the UK too, Martin. See, I've been hanging around you guys too much. All right. So basically, the concept is CCTV being stuff with traffic cameras and things like that. So, but my daughter, she's not ready to have this argument. She's 8, even as she is around her mother and me. That video surveillance, the concept there is that that can also mean like those cameras, door cameras, and other places that have cameras. Phone camera can be video surveillance, so that it's not necessarily closed circuit TV. So I get the point, Florence says CCTV, but I watch BritBox and Acorn TV. Well, there you go. That's funny. And Lisa says I watch Vicky, an Asian TV, CCTV. That's right. This is great. This is such a cool conversation. But basically they're saying the same thing. In other words, any kind of video recording that was made that catches people in the action. And that has been one of the best tools outside of DNA. In a way, it's almost even better than DNA because you can actually see what the criminal is doing, the perpetrator of a crime. Oftentimes you can follow him, see his face, see his movements. You can see where he's going. You can see his vehicle. You can see the actual crime occurring. And by linking things together, you can actually get the right person and not have to depend on, oh, touch DNA. Well, that turned out to be somebody the touch DNA flew in from someplace else and it wasn't the guy at all. So a little bit better. Well, the camera never lies. Well, I've got the new camera and I put it on, what is that? Like really blurry. It doesn't work as well as my other camera for really making me blurry. But I sent back my other camera because it was like, look, we gave you perfect clarity. I'm like, no, I look like I'm 200 years old. I want a facelift on camera. So I chucked that one back to Amazon. So sometimes the camera does lie if you can tweak it. But theoretically, the cameras used in the crime stuff are very, very useful. So anyway, all right. Now to the next story I have here. This one this is just a piece of news story that came up, and it just really upset me because I have an issue with the media because, well, I was in the media for so many, many, many years. But what bothers me is I saw this take from almost every media outlet, and it really upset me because, and again, don't go political on me here. And this is not a political issue about the police. This is an issue about simply telling the bloody truth about an incident, okay? So what happened was, there's this, let me see if I can find it. Hold on a second. Here we go. All right. So here's this location. There was a video cam that caught this on camera. And let me explain what this situation was. All right. Now, this, and by the way, what I'm going to read to you comes from Oxygen, okay? And of course, Oxygen isn't even a quote political channel. People can say, oh, well, CNN or Fox, they're kind of got political bents. Oxygen, for God's sakes, it's Oxygen. You're supposed to be just true crime. Listen to what they say. Okay, so the headline is, I'm not jumping in after you. Tempe cops stood by as a black man drowned, body cams showed. Well, of course, right away, we're seeing a political angle. And this is Oxygen. I don't even get this. Oh, well, I didn't notice that. Black Lives Matter above it. So I guess they have a bent on that. So, but the whole thing, this is across all the channels. And so this really has nothing to do with race. And it's just, this whole thing drives me crazy. All right. And then the subtitle is, police officers in Tempe, Arizona threatened to detain the wife of Sean Bickings when she tried to save her husband from drowning to death, but refused to swim after him themselves. Okay, let's take a look at this picture again. Now, let's tell you what happened here. All right. Newly released body cam footage indicates the police in Tempe, Arizona ignored the pleas of a black homeless man who drowned to death in front of them. Okay, so they released this partial videos. Okay, now this is what happened. On May 28th, Bickings allegedly entered the waters of Tempe Town Lake of his own accord after Tempe police responded to an incident between Bickings and his partner near the Elmore pedestrian bridge. I like how they say that he allegedly entered the water. There's a video cam on all of this. He didn't allegedly enter the water. This is what happened. They were having a little argument and somebody called it in because they saw what they thought was violence going on. The police arrived. The wife denied there was any physical altercation. But officers then went to Bickings, who sat on a bench at the edge of the bridge. He was at the end of the bridge. He too denied getting into any physical altercation with his partner. Okay. Neither were being detained for any offense. Officers told the couple they were running their names through a database used to check whether people have outstanding arrest warrants. This is standard procedure. In other words, they were causing problems and they just ran them through there. The check had not yet been completed when Bickings decided to slowly climb over the 4-foot metal fence and enter the water. Bickings could be heard saying on video camera, "I'm going for a swim." Do you remember that word, allegedly? There's no allegedly about it. He said, "I'm going for a swim. I'm free to go," right? Just before he easily entered the lake. So he decided to go over the thing, which there's a barrier for a reason. He decides to go swimming in the lake. All right. After he does this, officers stayed put as Bickings began to paddle away from the land. Okay. This is if we are a free country, theoretically in the US, the police have no right to detain him from deciding to take a swim if he so wants to do so. They're like, he already went over a fence. One of the officers said to the other, how far do you think he's going to be able to swim? Like, what is he doing here? He swam 30 to 40 yards before signaling any sign of distress. He went 30 to 40 yards. That's a hell of a long way. Okay. So he can swim. When I first saw this, I thought he couldn't even swim, but he can swim. All right. Then they are yelling to him. So what's your plan now? He says, I'm going to drown. I'm going to drown. And the police are like confused. They're like, no, you're not, because you just swam out there. He says, I'm drowning. Then the police said, swim to the bridge's pylon. It's not that far away, right? Just go get the pylon and hold on. He said, I can't. So one of the officers said, well, I'm not jumping in after you. This is what almost every headline says. Police say, I'm not jumping in after you, like they didn't care. Then he said, please help me, please, please, please. Bicking soon went under and did not resurface. As he remained submerged, his partner pleaded with officers to rescue him, stating she loved him. I love him, I love him. Please stop being so aggressive. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but okay. The officers told the woman to chill out and try to say, go to or put you in the patrol car, because she was causing problems. The woman begged Bickings to swing back, saying she couldn't live without him. All right. Anyway, they had to stop her from going in to try to, quote, save Bickings, right? I'm just distraught because he's drowning right in front of you and you won't help. And he drowned. He did drown. Now, all three officers on paid leave. Why do you think the officers did not go into the lake? How was that 30 to 40 yards away from the bridge? Why did they not go into the lake, swim out there 40 yards, and try to save this supposedly drowning man? Does anybody know why? Because apparently not one media outlet does, because every media outlet is saying the same thing. And interesting enough, the comments coming in on any media outlet that will allow them all nail it exactly correctly. I mean, all the comments are like, you guys, you're full of crap. Why are they full of crap? Okay, there's one. No training. These guys aren't lifeguards, folks. They've never gone through lifeguard training. You have to be very trained to try to save a drowning person. And Lisa Ann, you're correct. Big risk, they would drown themselves. Not even a big risk, an almost sure risk, they would drown themselves. We're talking about a big dude, too. We're not even talking about a little, 2-year-old or something. Let me answer this first. No, that's actually not true. They felt he went in of his own volition. He did, but that's not why they're not saving him. That's not why. All of their equipment they wear is too heavy. That is true. You can't jump in with the equipment you have on. You'll drown before you get to the guy. They could take it all off and jump in, theoretically, because he said he was going for a swim. Well, he went in by his own volition. What they actually did do is they called for help to get a boat out there to him. That's why they told him, get to the pylon. And then they were trying to get a boat to him, because this is the number one issue. When you try to save a drowning person, they will climb on top of you and they will drown you, and then they will drown as well. They don't cooperate because they're flailing. And when you're trying to get a hold of them, to get out of the water in their desperation, they will climb on top of you. You're talking about a full-grown man drowning. You will go down with him. It's suicide, absolute suicide. So any person who is a rescue person, any lifeguard, any rescue operation will tell you, don't do it. Do not go in there. He will get you killed. If you have a device you can throw to him, some kind of, floating device, you can get it to him, let him grab that. If you can throw down a rope and he's near to the rope, he can grab it. If a boat can get in there and pull him out, that's great. Don't go in after him, because he will drown you too. That's the reason. This is also very true. There's another thing here. Even a trained lifeguard will go in the water after a person if only absolutely necessary. And not even that's true. Even though it's necessary, they still aren't just going to go in and do that. Now, I've heard some interesting stories where You have to go in and like hit him over the head, knock him unconscious. Then you can drag him out. But it's very, very tricky. And if you're not extremely well trained and have the right equipment, you're going to die trying to get that guy out. He made a choice. That man made a choice to do something he had no reason to do. Why did he climb in and decide to take a swim? Why did he swim away from? He was just sitting there. Nobody was hurting him. He decided to do something stupid. He swam away from his supposed love of his life, who he apparently is probably having some major altercation with prior, because somebody did call. And he chose to go far enough away that he couldn't get back. That's his fault. I mean, if you're going to be stupid, you're going to be stupid. And it's not the police's fault. But what bugged me about this whole thing was every one of them says, I'm not going in after you. Like they didn't care about this man. No, they were trying to tell him, if you're expecting us to jump in there and risk our lives and die with you, we're not going to do it. They're hoping that by saying that, the guy will then give an effort to get to the pylon and hold on instead of drowning, going the wrong way and drowning himself. They were trying to give him some, hey, dude, we're not coming in to get you. You got to get to the pylon. But every single media outlet, including Oxygen, which is supposed to be a true crime channel, and understand this stuff, has been promoting this garbage. And it just really, I just find it really offensive, really super, super offensive. So anyway, that's my little story on that one. It just really ticked me off. All right, now I want to talk to you about this one. This is. I just want to talk to you about a thing called denial. And oftentimes when, hold on a second, trying to find my story here. All right. Okay, where's my story? It is this one. All right. A lot of times when there's family, we have a problem with a thing called denial. So when you're doing any kind of investigative work, profiling, when you go talk to the family, you can't necessarily believe what they say. I always told simple story about, you ask, would your daughter open a door to someone she doesn't know in the middle of the night? And every parent says, oh, no. And the fact is, an awful lot of people will. They will do that. During the day, they'll just open up the door, assuming it's somebody coming over that they know or whatever. And they open the door up and it's the killer, serial killer. And so you have no sign of breaking and entering. So you cannot necessarily depend on family, because a lot of things are kept from family. People, they're kind of like when your kids are teenagers and they do stuff, but you never hear about it till they're 40, and then they go, oh, by the way, and you're like, seriously, you did that? Thank God I didn't know, because I can't believe you did that. How stupid were you? But they're not going to tell you that till they can make a joke out of it, 2 decades later. So sometimes kids, they just do not know what the kids are really doing. And B, if their kids are really doing it, they often don't want to admit it. They just they want to defend that child no matter what, and try to minimize how bad the behavior is of their child. So this case it's a very, very sad case. I mean, it's horrible. It's a horrible case. And see these two little girls. It says here, family members have expressed doubts over the autopsy results of a Florida mother and her twin 3-year-old children who were found decomposing inside a car. Andrea Langhorst, 35, reportedly gave her twins a fatal to lethal dose of meth, which was also found in her system. Okay. Oh, man, I can't believe they just did this to me. Oh, my goodness. Sorry. You got a story up there, and then when you come back to look at it, it tells you have to have a subscription. So hold on a second. Now that they're doing this to me, let's see if I can pull up another site that will not block me out because I didn't subscribe to them. Okay. See, I at least let people see all my videos without being subscribers. All right. Okay, so here we go. Doesn't seem right. The Daily Beast. Okay, here's stumped by autopsies on Florida mother and kids. All right. They say they're not buying that autopsy. Okay. She was found, let's see. So on March 20th, there was a call put into police that a suspicious car was found and that they hadn't been heard of in 11 days. And so they found them in the decomp state. Well, then the parents go and they say this. The twins were were her pride and joy. All I can think of is maybe the car was running and she fell asleep. Maybe the fumes overwhelmed them. I don't know. Well, oh, that's very interesting. It's interesting that that the the Daily Beast article doesn't bother to say what else was true. Apparently, she was called the family said she was a free spirit. I love the word free spirit. In other words, she's messed up. There's a difference between being a free spirit and, let's say you're a single person and you're a free spirit. So you like to travel about and, have fun and do all crazy things. You're a free spirit. You have 2 kids and you're doing things that are illegal and dangerous. You're not a free spirit. You're a rotten mother. That's what you are. Apparently her free spiritedness, her family said, was she would stay at Airbnbs, but in between she would stay in the car with the children. Now one could say, oh, well, she was trying to care for her children, but she was homeless and she was struggling. Well, when you do meth, that's called drugs. You're struggling because instead of buying your children food and getting them a proper place to sleep, and instead of getting help and getting a job or getting your children to their grandparents where they will be safe while you get rehab, no, you're doing meth while you're with the children. And that's why you don't have the extra money to provide them with any kind of decent life. I don't have much sympathy for that. What I have sympathy for is the 2 little children who were basically murdered by their mother. And the family is now trying to downgrade this murder to I think the autopsy is wrong. So now they're attacking the pathologist and all the people that work in the medical examiner's office for lying about how the mother and children died. It's really, really sad. I'm going to do a show on this, Lisa. The Taconic State crash case is also a great example of denial. I'm trying to decide whether I should do that this Sunday or I should do something different this Sunday. Should I do this one this Sunday? Because it's a really fascinating case. I did just see the whole thing on that. Give me a thought to whether you want to see me do that. Yeah. Free spirit means completely hate. Sometimes it is, but there are times in life when you're, youthful and or you don't have any responsibilities that you can be free spirited. But once you take on children, your free spiritedness needs to be tempered by providing your children with a safe environment. She did not do that. And it really, and it's interesting to see how this article decided to leave out the whole issue that she's actually been spending money on drugs and that's why she's homeless, and her family hadn't seen her in a long time. So, oh, did he do? Oh, yes, he did. Yes, Werner Spitz did get interviewed on that one. Okay, I'll do that one on Sunday because it's a really interesting case, really fascinating, and I think there's a lot to say. Okay, you're my guys here. You all say how do you say this? Taconic State crash. Yeah, very, very fascinating. So I will do that one. Okay. I just thought this was an interesting case of denial. Now, to a different weird sort of a misunderstanding of people and what they're actually doing is this. This is a case. I just got this. Somebody we're talking about the Jill Dando case in the UK. And Jill Dando was she was a host of a crime show and she was gunned down on her doorstep. They arrested a guy they thought was her stalker. He went to prison, then it was considered an unsafe conviction and he got let out. That's it. He's out. And there's some people running around, one in particular, I don't like his methodology of analysis, shall we say, who is saying that, oh no, well, she got shot down by some Serbian gang or this or that. Just all these people, these evil, shadowy gangs, Russian, Serbian, whatever they are, were out because she supposedly did some fundraisers or some money for some, to help some group that they didn't approve of or was, anti them. So they gunned her down in this hit. In this professional hit, which it looked nothing like, absolutely looked nothing like a professional hit. It looked just like a stalker killed her. Okay. Now, one of the comments I made, and people say, well, why would you not think that Jill Dando could have been a target? All right. This is why. All right. Here is a story about, this guy This is a fellow. Let me get his name up here. His name is, all right. He is a journalist. He is a journalist in Brazil. His name is, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly. There were two men. One guy's name was Dom Phillips. That was not the guy. This guy is Bruno Araujo Pereira, or something close to that. We'll call him Bruno. All right. They went to a place called Javari Valley in the far western part of the Amazonian state, Amazonas state, okay, on Sunday. They reportedly received death threats just days before. Now, why would they? So they went missing, okay? And the president of Brazil said this, because the family was saying, you got to speed up the search. They've been missing and we haven't found them. And he said, well, they did a dangerous thing. They went on an adventure, and that really pissed off the sister. This is the sister. She gave a very heartfelt speech on trying to find her brother. But the president of Brazil said it's not a recommended adventure, which got her really bent out of shape. Why? Because she said he wasn't on an adventure. He was a journalist. He was a journalist who cared about what was happening in the Amazon and all the issues of the Amazon deforestation, all the other things that are causing the Amazon to be depleted and ruined. Now, I think that's a perfectly wonderful thing to do. He cared. He was a journalist who cared. And so he was willing, and the gentleman who was with the sister pointed this out, he took a calculated risk in order to do something good for the world. So he went there to study this. Now, the area is called a dangerous region, home to thousands of indigenous people and about 16 uncontacted groups. The Javari Valley, the second largest indigenous territory in Brazil, is a patchwork of rivers and dense forests that make access very difficult. The area has come under increased threat from illegal miners, loggers, hunters, and international drug traffickers exploiting its vast network of rivers, which is why it's become a little more dangerous to do one of those lovely Brazilian rafting trips, which I always wanted to do, but, Anyway, so they went on a complicated and dangerous mission. They were conducting research for a book on conservation efforts, all right? And they had been, there's a lot of threats. There were people angry at anybody investigating because of the illegal mining and other issues there, like the drug issues there. All right, so it's a dangerous area to do that. He took a chance, and now he's missing. And I'm going to say, probably unlike the girls in Panama who took a trail they shouldn't have taken and probably died accidentally, I'm going to guess these guys didn't. I'm going to guess these two men have been most likely murdered, unless we get really lucky and they really did just get lost and they're going to show up alive. But not terribly likely. Now, how am I relating this to Jill Dando? Jill Dando wasn't really a hardcore journalist. Like Nancy Grace. I did Nancy Grace's show for years. Nancy Grace is not a hardcore journalist. She's a host of a crime show. Even John Walsh, he's no journalist. He's a host of a crime show. He has his people go out and do the basic stories and stuff like that. Now, I'm not saying there can't be a story or two that are a little bit edgy there that might get some bad backlash. But when you come down to journalists getting murdered, they're in Mexico trying to take down the cartels, trying to connect politicians to the cartels, they get murdered. If you go back to Colombia, to those days when drug trafficking was really heavy down there, and you had journalists being killed, definitely, and locations being blown up. So you had that. But you're sitting in the UK, you're doing a crime show. Even if you did something that annoyed somebody, some group of people that were from the underworld, you annoyed them, it serves them no purpose to knock you off. You're just going to be replaced, by some other host, because that's the way things work. They know that. They're not stupid. It's the show is the show. It's run by producers, not by the host. It's run by producers. You'd have to blow up the whole station and kill all the producers. Whoever is running it, the whole shebang, not just a host of a show. She's fairly meaningless in the scheme of things. So for them to want to shoot her down, it's pointless, and it's will cause them more trouble than it's worth. So no, I do not believe in any way she was killed for her supposed incredible journalism. I think she was killed because some creepy stalker dude wanted to be with her even for a second. I think that's all it was. And so I still believe they had the right guy. I don't believe they had the wrong guy. I believe they had the right guy. I just believe that, was it an unsafe conviction? Well, he did have a little bit of gunpowder stuff in his, residue in his pocket of his coat, which people say, well, he could have gotten that someplace else besides having a gun in his coat. I'm going to say that chances are, unless you're hanging around a whole bunch of guns blowing up, you're spending a ton of time at the range and with that coat, I'm going to say it's probably unlikely. And considering you're already a stalker and you had a thing for her, I'm going to say probably you did it. Should he have been convicted? Well, that's a whole nother issue. But I don't believe for a minute that she was knocked off by some nefarious, some underworld, whatever. But that's what happens when you have a case that goes, quote, unsolved, or somebody gets off and isn't convicted, or some group just wants to make a big deal of it because, there's always these innocence projects everywhere in the world. Then they start going down the big, huge, scary route where, oh no, it's a big conspiracy or this huge, whatever. See it with the McCann case too. I always think the McCann case is a simple case that just happened was the evidence that I purport a theory that the evidence supports an accidental death that was covered up. That's what I believe the evidence purports. I'm not saying the McCanns are guilty, but in no way do I believe there was a huge sex ring and it all goes up to the government, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that for a minute. Usually it's just something much, much simpler than that. Now, there are occasions when things are really bizarre. There are some occasions, but a good portion of the time they're not. Same thing with Johnny Gosh. I had some person who just really got mad at me because they said, oh my God, no, it's proof. There's proof that there was this huge sex ring connected with the bank or whatever. It was just nonsense, total nonsense. But a movie's been made and a book has been written and it's garbage. And it was proved to be a big hoax. And I believe it was a big hoax. So yes, there are some times when there is stuff going on. But we want to make sure we find that there's true evidence to support that. And it's not something quite simple in reality. So I thought that was just when I saw the Brazilian thing, I'm like, yeah, that's how things really work. Okay. So let's see. I don't have anything else here. I have a bunch of things. I don't know if I'm going to do them all today, but I have a couple more that I thought would be interesting. One is, it's an interesting case of, okay, well, this is just bizarre. I often say that women get away with a lot more than men as far as when they kill people. People always think they're just like, oh, she had something, she couldn't help herself. Men do it. They go, oh, give them the death penalty. But the women are like, oh, maybe she just needs psychiatric help. So anyway, there's this girl, and she was going to the prom. There she is with her boyfriend. So apparently on June 6th, this is a long time ago, 1997, Melissa Drexler walked into her high school prom knowing her life was about to change forever. Oh, no. She didn't want her life to change forever. That was the real problem. For 9 long months, the 18-year-old had been hiding the fact she was pregnant from everyone, including her parents and her boyfriend, the unborn child's father. Well, okay. I got to stop right here. She's with the boyfriend who got her pregnant. She's still with the boyfriend who got her pregnant. I'm going to say because he got her pregnant, they were having a thing called sex. Are you telling me that you came up with an excuse after you got pregnant? Let's say, because, let's say you got pregnant, I don't know. You got pregnant and then you got 9 months to go, right? So you've been having sex with this dude, unprotected sex. You get pregnant. You don't tell him. But somehow you get out of having sex for months. Because are you going to tell me as your stomach starts growing and growing and growing, I mean, you might get away with it till maybe the 5th month, maybe you could just say, I'm so bloated. But at some point when you're having sex and he's like, your stomach's like this and the baby's kicking, you can't quite, I think the guy's going to say, hey, what's in your tummy? So I'm having a bit of a problem with this. I don't know. I just think that's really bizarre. So anyway, supposedly she kept the secret from him. As soon as the couple arrived at the banquet hall, she rushed into the girls' restroom and locked herself in the stall. 30 minutes later, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy in the toilet. Melissa named her baby Christopher. Well, that was kind of her. Cut the umbilical cord using the sharp edge of the metal sanitary napkin bin and strangled him to death. Was that with the umbilical cord? Well, I'm going to guess that might be what she had available. She wrapped his corpse in a plastic garbage bag and left him in the trash. Then she quickly touched up her makeup. I guess she sweat a little bit, and walked back out onto the dance floor to meet her friends, leaving a bloody mess behind. I hope that sanitary napkin's in there because I'm trying to figure out how you wear your prom dress. And yeah. Anyway, a janitor eventually discovered the newborn baby's lifeless body in the garbage can and called the police. School officials questioned Melissa after other students noticed she'd been in the bathroom for a long period of time, and she confessed. I'm going to say also, check this out now. Okay, this is where I start losing my mind. On August 21st, 1998, Melissa pleaded guilty to aggravated manslaughter. How about premeditated homicide? Murder 1. She was sentenced to 15 years in prison. 37 months later, she walked free. A year and a half for murdering a child. Now, there's a couple things I want to point out. One is, and this is something I find very, very horrifying in our country, and I don't know where else, but definitely in the US. If you murder an adult, you'll get life. If you murder a child, you won't. Somehow, if you murder children, especially babies, they don't seem as important. In other words, they haven't gotten to be known as well. So a baby is just a sort of little blobby thing. So you get something small for killing the blobby thing. So you get way less time than you get if you killed an adult. A child doesn't have the same rights as an adult, apparently. She got a year and a half for killing a just totally innocent child, strangling him to death. It wasn't even like she dropped the baby on the floor and ran off, or she put some kids, you'll panic, you might put the baby in. But she strangled the kid. I'm going to think with the umbilical cord, and left him there until they picked him up. And that's why they knew she murdered him, because, it wasn't even like hidden well. She gets a year and a half. What kind of woman? She's a girl. Okay, we're going to say she's a girl because she was a teen. How old was she? Well, she was at a high school prom. So she's 17, 18, or 19, depending on if she was held back in school. So why is it that women get way less? They get more sympathy than men. A man did this to the child. This was, mind you, this was the boyfriend's baby. There was a father involved, okay, whether he knew it or not. But anyway, if she had had the baby and the father had taken the baby and wrapped the umbilical cord around the baby's neck and strangled it, he would be in prison for 20 years at least. The mother does it, apparently too bad. She gets a year and a half. I don't know. I have issues. I'm going to do probably a thing on Andrea Yates because people keep asking me to do Andrea Yates, and I'm not really wanting to do it because I have a very unpopular opinion on that because of this issue between men and women and how women get the break and the men do not. It just bothers me. Well, yeah, many people have a sympathy for Casey Anthony too, even if she killed their daughter, which was a premeditated murder, in my opinion, and I thought was well enough presented in court. But even if it was, there are people who feel sorry for her and somehow think that, oh, well, you know, she couldn't handle it, or her mother was always trying to get in her way, or her father sexually abused her, which of course causes you to kill off your children. You know what? So, yeah. But that she at least was had a little bit more people upset about her, because the kid at least made it to a few years, so that she had a personality. But when babies get killed, it's amazing how quickly they're just given a very short sentence, unless it's a guy, and then a little bit different situation. But Lisa says, what is your opinion? Not giving it here. I'm going to wait to do it, and so I can lose a whole bunch of subscribers and get hate mail. But I just have a differing opinion on her mental state and why she killed the children. Now, one other one I want to do, which is also on children, and this guy, this guy ended up killing himself, so that helped things out rather well. But this is a horrifying crime. But what's interesting about the crime is not that it was horrifying, but again, that, we talk about red flags. Women, men, women, any of you people, you're hooking up with a partner, and there is like a history behind them that you should be running. When you find out, you should run as fast as you can. Or when the first few events happen that make you go, oh, he's not as nice as I thought. Run away. So this is the guy. All right. Now, this guy shot. See that mommy with the two babies? Yeah. He shot her father. She, at this point in her life, she had figured out that her boyfriend was scary. So her father had come over to help her pack up and leave the home. And I always recommend people, if you think a person's that scary, you want to get the police there really quick, and then have them there when you try to leave the home, and then you need to disappear. This guy came in, killed the father. Then he made her hold the babies, and he shot both of the babies to death in her arms, and shot her. She survived, but the babies did not. Then he killed himself. Okay, so interesting character. Now look what it says here. This is the mother. The grieving mother said she was troubled by her daughter's relationship with Wilson, who pleaded guilty in 2013 to strangling another woman before undertaking a domestic violence program. Okay. I'm not ever thrilled about these domestic violence programs, because I think a lot of them are idiotic, because they don't seem to understand what they're dealing with sometimes. But you see the problem there? He had strangled a woman. She didn't die, but he strangled her and was ready to go to this violence program. Did she absolutely not know about this? Did she do any checking? Did she know anybody who knew him? Because why is she hooking up with this dude? Then the mother says, Wilson was controlling, smashed furniture, grabbed her daughter, and demanded she lose weight just days after giving birth to their twins. As a parent, I knew in my gut their relationship was not healthy. No, ma'am, you didn't know it in your gut. You saw it in front of your damn eyes. Okay? So right after she had the babies, the guy turned into this violent creature, horrible person. Get out really quick. Don't be hanging around for 5 more months. Okay, you think that's bad? It gets worse. Okay, it gets worse. So let me find the one where, okay, the previous women. Believe me, there are previous women. Oh, here we go. The X. There's 2 X's. None of them have good news. Let's say one of this X. Okay. Hold on 1 second. I want the other one first. Oh, not that one. Oh, no. We're disappearing. Okay, well, I'll pull this one up first. All right. More details continue to surface about a serviceman who allegedly took the lives of his own twin daughters, allegedly, and their grandfather. Okay. He was born in Jamaica, came to the United States, everybody said he's a wonderful guy, joined the military, and then he hooked up with this woman named Gawain Wilson. And he supposedly snapped during a domestic abuse and went on a rampage. Another woman said that story sounded all too familiar. Oh, why? Because there's yet another woman, see? Danielle Johnson said she was blessed to be alive. Johnson, who claimed she dated Wilson 2 years prior to the slaying, said she felt some blame for the deaths of these children. I feel guilty because I dropped the ball. I was supposed to get a permanent injunction for protection against domestic violence and meet with a lot of other people, and I didn't because I was scared, but I wish I had. Investigators said Wilson, okay, wait a minute, let me go on here. Where she said, Johnson said she met Wilson wait a minute, before that, she had said she went to a state's attorney's office and she was straight up asked, do you think he's capable of killing someone? And she said yes. Now, how did she meet this guy? This is the woman this was prior to the triple murder, this other woman. Johnson said she met Wilson on an online dating site in 2012. A month later, the pair moved in together. What do I always say about moving in with somebody? What do I always say? Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Never move in with anybody that quickly. Don't let them into your house, because if they have issues, you're going to find out while you're dating. It's better to find out when you're dating than when they're already in your dang house. Okay, so now, the first time he picked me up for a date, he literally parked his little BMW across the street, had flowers in his hand, and leaned against his car. So he was kind of a slick dude, cute and sweet. He was charming, confident, and a successful Navy man who was adored by family and friends. Okay. Still, and there's the word still, red flags began to emerge a few months into their relationship. Johnson said Wilson's behavior grew more erratic, controlling, and insecure. She said he would yell, break things, and demand intimacy, which she could never refuse. Which one of these things came first so you did not get away from him quicker? So that's the problem. You see these signs, and you're just still staying in the relationship. Now, she said some really interesting things. He broke 3 of my cell phones. Break one of my cell phones, I'm not going to have you around to break the other one that I'm going to get. But he broke 3, so look how long she stayed. And accused me of cheating if I looked at another man, even while watching TV. The guy's psycho, It was a far cry from the confident Navy man she said she grew to love in 1 month, apparently. It all came to a head one morning inside their Arlington home when she decided she'd had enough. And see, here's the problem. I started packing up my stuff. When you break up with a guy and you start packing up, if he is a psychopath, you don't want to be there. You don't want him to know you're leaving. All right. He started yelling and screaming. He was like, you're going to leave me. He goes into the closet and comes out with an AK-47. You might want to worry about the guy with the AK-47 in the closet, but okay. Sometimes you just want to protect your home, but the guy's already problematic. If you knew the guy had weapons in the home and he has psychological issues, those two don't go together well. Okay. So he puts the AK-47 right between her eyes. She, jarred awake by the commotion, her 8-year-old daughter. Why was she moving a man into her home within 1 month when she had an 8-year-old daughter? Don't do that. That just makes me so angry. That's why they get sexually assaulted, molested, because you have no business moving a man into your home when you've got a kid there, or a woman into your home when you got a kid there, unless you had a long-term relationship and you know that they're safe. Other than that, they don't need to be near your kid. All right. He walked into the room. The daughter walks into the room screaming for Wilson to stop. I don't know. Maybe by seeing her, he changed his mind. He just dropped it. Okay. Her neighbor ran to the neighbor's house to get help while Wilson continued to choke and beat her. Oh, so he wasn't going to shoot her, but choking and beating her. That's not so bad. He was arrested for domestic battery. And while he admitted to breaking her phone, he did not acknowledge hitting her. And but they did find marks and bruises on Johnson. Apparently, he didn't go away for very long, did he? He got that training, the domestic training. But then there's another woman also who went through all of this. Stop, ladies, stop. You meet somebody, you got to take it slow. You don't bring them into your home. You don't get pregnant by them. You don't put them around your children. You don't do this stuff. You got to understand that if the person is a good person, they will be willing to be patient, wait their time, and all this stuff, get to know them, all this kind of thing. Most trouble comes because you don't have time to get to know them and you move them into your life and then you get screwed. So, Lisa says, so bold, these people moving in after a month. My partner and I dated for 5 years before we tried it. And the last minute, we wondered if we were rushing and should have given it 10. There you go. My basic rule is at least this. At least date for 2 years before you marry, theoretically, as opposed to moving in. But 2 years, so you get to know the person really well. And you'll know they'll wait for you and be interested in having a future with you. And you've discussed all the things about work, where you're going to live, children, relatives, and all that nonsense. Then after you get married or you move in together, whatever your thing is, another 2 years before you have a child. Make sure the person's a keeper. Make sure the person who is with you is kind. And when you're living together, because it's different when you're dating and then you're settling in the same house, you're like, not so easy. Make sure the person you moved into your home, if you moved in together, now you made the choice after 2 years to live together or get married and live together, that then over those next 2 years, you get to know what it's like living with that person. You have it with you 24/7. You know what kind of human being they are after 2 years. Then you get pregnant. Before that, no. Before that, stop rushing. Stop rushing, please, because Gretchen says, be happy, stay single. Well, some people are single, but they still have relationship issues where they hook up with all kinds of creepy people. That's what Match.com is for. It's for matching up with creepy people. And here again is where I always point out, stop having sex with them on a first date, because almost everybody does. And if you don't, they won't see you again. But hey, that's good. You don't want them to see you again. If all they're there for is sex, you just as well not have them around, If they're not willing to wait a few dates, pretty pitiful. People used to have to wait till they were married. Then they used to have to wait till they were engaged. Then they used to have to wait till they were in a long-term relationship. Now it's like, do I have to wait till dessert or can we just skip that? It's like pretty sad. Oh, hi, Joe, you showed up. Oh, thank you, Joe. I hope this is fascinating. This really just interesting stuff. I wish you had gotten here earlier, Joe. Always love your input. So, but that one, again, just stupid stuff, stupid stuff. And I'm going to, let's see what time is it? It's 5:12. I'm just going to do one more. I think I'm going to save William Reese and Robin Pope for next week. But I want to just, before I go, I'm going to do the Jacob Remaley, because I'm kind of on this thing about, maybe I should do Robin Pope because that's also, maybe Robin. Let me look at Robin for a second here. This is a case that happened nearby. No, I'm going to get to her next week. It's a more complicated case. I'm going to wait for that one. I'll talk about this for my last one. I'll talk about Remaley. The kid in the middle. We talk about family annihilators, and we have real trouble believing that a child would do such a thing. Even a teenage child, we can't imagine it happening. And this child in the middle, his name is Jacob Remaley. He's a 14-year-old. It kills the title of this one is 14-year-old. He's 14, kills family after they go to Disney World without him, which is kind of tacky, but okay. But let's find out what his issues were and what the claims were on this kid. Martin says he doesn't look the least bit creepy. Are you being cynical? Anyway, the subtitle is Experts Determine Jacob was under the influence of his alter ego when he shot his mom and little brother dead. And I have a problem with this alter ego issues. Alter ego issues, the multiple personality thing. It's got a new name now, and I've forgotten what it is because they always change the names, but it's not called multiple personality anymore. It's like dissociative personality or something like that. In case you do not know, I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist. I'm a profiler, and I have no memory. So therefore, I have to look these things up. But anyway, if, I have a problem with before and after a crime occurs. If you're going to say something was true when the crime occurred, it should be true before the crime occurred. Okay? So when you get multiple personalities, which nobody saw before the crime, but after the crime has occurred, is claimed that that's why they did it. I'm a little suspicious of that. Okay? So anyway, what happened? This is 2016 in New Staunton, Pennsylvania. They received a harrowing call. The caller said his father had murdered his entire family and asked, why didn't he kill me too? That was kind of clever, actually, before abruptly hanging up the phone. Officers arrived after 7 a.m. to find 14-year-old Jacob. I'm just going to call him Jacob because I don't understand. Remaley. Okay. Standing in the street with a loaded firearm. Continuous repeating the word mom. The lifeless bodies of his mother, 46-year-old Dana, and his 8-year-old brother Caleb were found in their beds atop bloodstained sheets. Jacob insisted his father, 52-year-old plumber David Remaley, was the killer, but the investigators quickly determined he was at work. Hint to teenage killers. If you're going to blame another family member, make sure they don't have an alibi that's that good. He had left at 5:40 that morning, more than an hour before the carnage took place. Jacob soon confessed and said David would have been dead too if he had been home. Charged as an adult, he faced 2 counts of first-degree homicide. The investigation concluded that shortly after his father left to work, Jacob picked up a Ruger .380 pistol from the top of the refrigerator. All right, I'm having a problem here. If that was Daddy's pistol, Daddy should be going to prison with him for the killing of his wife and child. Because I have a real thing about this. I'm pro being able to own a gun. I'm not pro leaving your gun on top of the refrigerator for your crazy, which you already knew was crazy, teenage son to pick up and kill your family. You deserve to be in prison. Okay? That's my belief. That is your weapon. You secure it. If you don't secure it, you're guilty over what happens to it. So after he grabbed the magazine and loaded it, he walked into his mother's bedroom and shot her once in the head as she slept. 3rd grader Caleb met the same fate. It wasn't the first time that David, an Iraqi war vet, had taught his son how to shoot. Oh, wait a minute. So anyway, Dad had taught his son how to shoot, which if your son isn't crazy, that might be okay. But you don't leave the gun around for crazy boy. But this is it wasn't the first time he'd faced tragedy, the daddy. His mother had committed suicide in 1997. His family's not doing well. Okay. When asked why he committed such a horrific crime, Jacob said he didn't get along with his parents, who forced him to do all the house chores from from cooking to cleaning to laundry. He received a vacuum for Christmas the year before. Okay. I just have to stop here for just 1 second to say, a husband giving his wife a vacuum for Christmas has often caused domestic problems, shall we say. You give your kid a vacuum for Christmas, maybe the kid's got a point, I don't know if that really happened, but the father is around to deny it, but I don't know that he did. Oh, thank you. Dissociative identity disorder. All right. DID. Okay. Thank you, Heidi. All right. So he supposedly got a vacuum for Christmas while the parents spoiled Caleb. And in the weeks leading up to the murders, they took Caleb to Disney World, leaving Jacob behind. Now, so this is the Cain and Abel story, and I've done maybe I'll find the link to the other Pennsylvania case, which I analyzed, which was a Cain and Abel story as well, where the older son killed the younger brother because he was jealous of him, and the younger one apparently was the golden boy, and he was not so popular with his parents. And it looks like this is the case again. Now, there might be reasons for these things, and so you have to understand this. Sometimes you have a psychopathic child who you cannot connect with because they're psychopathic, and they're very difficult to get along with. So the relationship does go downhill, and the parents may have mistreated this child because he was unpleasant, annoying, a lying little piece of whatever, and the younger one was a really nice kid, so, you tend to be nicer to the nicer kid and not so nice to the not so nice kid. It's possible that, I don't know if maybe they took the other son to Disney World at some time, and then they decided they'd take the younger son so he wouldn't have to have the older grouchy teenage boy around. It's hard to say. Gretchen says, I had a boyfriend give me a state-of-the-art steam tile cleaner for Valentine's Day. I nearly lamped him with it. Not a romantic present, guys. Not romantic. You can give that on another day and then do the work that comes with it, That's pretty funny. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, and Jacob also accused his father of being an alcoholic who physically abused him and claimed his mother often called him worthless and favored his little brother. Jacob sustained 2 concussions before the age of 8, and now they're trying to say he had brain injury, right? By the time he was 12, his ability began to split apart. Jacob, as the host, psychologically wasn't there. This is forensic psychologist Alice Applegate, I'm sure hired by the defense. A mental evaluation found Jacob. What mental evaluation? By the defense, I'm going to guess. Suffered from a dissociative disorder. Experts concluded trauma from his home life manifested in blackouts, memory loss, and 4 alternative personalities. Witch, old man, little girl, and wrath. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. Applegate determined that wrath was to blame for the murders. Oh, Lord God. Okay. All right. Unless there are friends and schoolmates and teachers who saw the witch, the old man, the little girl, and wrath, unless they saw all of those, I would say they don't exist. I would say this is bullcrap. And you get a lot of times the defense will bring in a psychologist and they'll sit there and say, did you know what you were doing? And they'll give them hints about, what they could be. Oh, well, was there another part of you that did this? Oh, yeah. That was I'm like 4 different people. Huh? What are they? Because these are the stupidest 4 different people I've ever heard. Who would want to be? What, does he really want to be a little girl? I mean, did he walk around being a little girl? I mean, I just don't buy any of this crap. I think it's nonsense. The defense argued that Jacob wasn't responsible due to his altered state and requested he be sent to a psychiatric facility rather than a prison. But he was found mentally competent after 3 years in custody awaiting trial. I guess while he was 3 months waiting trial, they never saw a little girl, the witch. God bless. David acknowledged poor judgment when it came to his parenting style. He admitted abusing Jacob. I don't know what that actually means, by the way. Again, we're talking about the media. I don't know if he said I abused him or, once I did spank him. I don't know what actually that means. But claimed he didn't realize the magnitude of his actions, despite the fact the teenager attempted suicide at 13. Saw a psychiatrist and bragged his classmates called him a school shooter. Okay, daddy should go to prison, because if your son did indeed was called a school shooter by his classmates and you leave a gun around the house, he could have been a school shooter. We're very lucky that after he offed his mother and his brother, he didn't go to school and kill everybody there too. Because a lot of times when this is how it starts, a mass murder will kill family first and then go and kill off people at work or wherever. And then, after the police go to wherever the mass murder is, then they go back to the home and they find everybody dead there as well. So daddy leaving that gun around, be in prison. Now the father says this: I'm scared, but I'm going to provide all the support I can. I missed that something was wrong. I'd be terribly frightened if I missed something again. Now, hopefully your son will not be coming out of prison anytime soon, so you won't have to miss anything again because you're an idiot. Jacob pleaded guilty but mentally ill. He was sentenced to 2 terms of 30 years to life to be served concurrently. He will be eligible for parole at age 44. So just, we do not, and have a law about locking up guns. We have in the U.S. I don't want to get into a gun thing here because I try to stay away from the political stuff because especially now with the recent mass murder, it's all about guns and politics. All I will say is this: there are obviously not sufficient rules for maintaining control of your weapon, which is what you're taught whenever you take any kind of absolutely decent gun class. That the gun is supposed to be in only two places: on you or in a safe. On you or in a safe. And if it's any place else, then you're responsible for what happens to it. And I strongly stand by that because, yeah, I mean, it is a weapon. So it's kind of like a car. I mean, in my opinion, if you're not watching your 12-year-old and you leave your keys in the car and he takes the car and runs somebody down, car's a weapon too. What your kid doing, stealing your car and But again, when you're responsible for certain things, you're responsible for those certain things. So that's a good one, Joe. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I wonder if that's where he got it from. Actually, that's very good. Okay, so the lion which one was the lion? So, yeah, I love that book, by the way. I just absolutely love that book. So, yeah, he's the right age to have read The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And I wonder if he extrapolated his characters from that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's actually very good. I like it. But this is where I have issues with the difference between psychotic and psychopathic, and psychotic and psychopathic, or psychopathic and psychotic. There's issues that come together. There are clearly times a person is in a psychotic state. In a psychotic state, you're divorced from reality, and you do not understand what you are doing is wrong. That's psychotic. Psychopathic is you know darn well what you were doing was wrong, and you did it anyway because you wanted to. And you can give any explanation you want, but you still wanted to do it. And even if you were psychotic in the past or had some delusional stuff in the past, if you at that moment decide you're going to do what you do, you are responsible. Because there's a difference between being mentally disturbed and being psychotic. There is a difference. And there's a thing called choices, and we have choices. And we have choices along the way. So, yeah, that's, now you get a clue to what I'm going to say about Andrea Yates, because it's some popular commentary on that. But I think we need to understand that, because it's very important also as far as people, when they're going in certain directions, are they responsible? The man who just killed the two babies and the girl, he was going in a direction. He was getting more and more rageful, more and more angry, more and more suspecting, paranoid about the women not respecting him, and paranoid about them liking other men. How guilty is he? Because when he decided to kill those children and the father and tried to kill his girlfriend too, he knew what he was doing. He may have had weird ideas about why he was doing it, but he knew what he was doing. So I think that's, just important that we recognize the difference between that. Being disturbed and being psychotic is two different things. There are some cases where you go, that person seriously had a psychotic break because what they did, it was like completely out to lunch, and they didn't know why they were doing it, or the reason they thought they were doing it. You can see, like when we were the case with the two women that I profiled, the one in the elevator, Elisa Lam. You could see she's talking to people who aren't there. That's a psychotic break. She was divorced from reality. And so when I believe she, up and either committed suicide or had an accidental death because she was not seeing things the way they should be seen. She was in a dreamlike state where what was in front of her wasn't really in front of her. What she thought was happening wasn't really happening. That's a psychotic state. An excuse for doing something wrong is not a psychotic state. So I'm going to explain more of that when I do the Andrea Yates thing. And then, people will be angry with me. But anyway, okay, I think that's it for today. I'm going to save a couple of those for next week because I will be back next week. I will be probably doing probably Wednesday night, 7 p.m. And again, if you're here and you have not changed from tier 5 or 4, go ahead and change to tier 3. And anybody, I haven't seen anybody new come. I sent this message out to all the people on tier 1 and 2. I don't see any new people here. I was hoping they would come and explore this, and then, come up to tier 3. But at some point, I'm just going to knock off all the other tiers, and it'll be just that one tier. And one tier will be everybody together, like we're doing now, and we can, be involved in all the lives, and then I say I might have some surprises I throw in there when I have that extra time. One of the reasons I also wanted to cut this back a little bit was because I was doing 3 lives a week, and I was realizing I was like not able to get other work done on the profiling school, and it came up so quickly that it was like I was rushing to get things done, and so I wanted a little bit more sanity there. So that's why I moved it to 2 a week. And then I can always add one in when I feel like it, or I can add in my profiling school, or I can add in new stuff, or maybe this thing on Andrea Yates, I might just throw that one in as a video as opposed to a live conversation. So, but right now, go to tier 3, put yourselves on tier 3, and in a couple of weeks there will be only that one tier, which will probably be called tier 1. So anyway, I'm glad you made it here today. Anyway, and it was a really lots of interesting stories which came about, which I was really happy to find. Every week I always go, I don't know what I'm going to talk about, and then I find these things. I'm like, oh my gosh, those are really interesting. So anyway, thank you for being here. And again, if you're watching the show for the first time, do join Patreon below and support the channel by becoming a subscriber at least. Because that does help in this world of YouTube. So, and you're most welcome, Anne and Florence. Thank you for coming. And everybody else who was here today, thank you very much, Heidi. Appreciate it. And so I will see you on Sunday. And I promised I'm going to do the Parkway, the horrible crash on the Parkway. I promised to do it, and I will now, because you all want me to do that one. So, I listen to you guys. I really do. So see you on Sunday. Bye.